Welcome to my Microcosm project presentation. My name is Anthony Moore, and the project was completed as a part of general ecology under the guidance of Dr. P. Today I'll take you through my experiment and its purpose, of methods, observations, and findings, all while exploring its relevance to the broader field of ecology. Let's begin with the overview of the project. The primary aim of this assignment was to explore the practical applications of microcosms in ecological studies. Microcosms, which are simplified representations of natural ecosystems, allow researchers to study environmental processes, species, interactions, and the effects of variables like pollutants in a controlled environment. From a personal perspective, I wanted to gain hands-on experience and a deeper understanding of how microcosms mimic real-world ecosystems. Through this project, I sought to observe how changes within a microcosm could reflect broader ecological principles. The learning objectives of this project included understanding the fundamental principles of ecology and the utility of microcosms in monitoring ecosystem changes. By the end of this experiment, I hope to achieve greater appreciation for how these small-scale systems contribute to ecological research. Microcosms are valuable tools in ecological research because they provide manageable environments for studying interactions between living and non-living components. For example, researchers can simulate the effects of climate change, the introduction of invasive species, or pollutions on ecosystems. To understand this presentation, basic ecological concepts such as food webs, nutrient cycling, and energy flow are essential. I'll also provide background on the experiment setup, including the materials used such as dirt, water, and leaves to simulate an ecosystem and observe its interactions over time. For this experiment, I hypothesized that the microcosm would develop observable algae growth and microbial activity within 7 days when exposed to indirect sunlight. This hypothesis is based on the expectation that light would promote photosynthesis and that organic materials in the microcosm would support microbial activity through decomposition. To construct my microcosm, I gathered natural materials near my barracks. Dirt, leaves, and twigs were collected from a little brushy area outside the barracks to provide a mix of soil, decaying organic material, and structural growth for my microbial growth. Bottled water was used to ensure a clean, controlled water source. The container for the microcosm was a 28-ounce Gatorade bottle that I bought from the local exchange. Chosen for its compact size and transparency, approximately 150 grams of dirt was added, along with 3 to 4 dead leaves and a couple of twigs found in the same bushy area right outside the barracks. These materials represented the organic and inorganic components necessary to establish an ecosystem. I filled the bottle with 300 milliliters of bottled water, covering the organic material and leaving the space for air circulation. The microcosm was placed near a window where it received approximately 12 hours of indirect sunlight daily. This exposure was critical for promoting photosynthesis and maintaining the nutrient cycle. The environmental conditions in my barracks, such as temperatures ranging from 15 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius during the day, provided a stable setting for activity. After assembling this microcosm, I sealed the container to create a controlled environment. This prevented large fluctuations in temperature and humidity while allowing for nutrient cycling. Observations were conducted weekly, focusing on algae growth, water clarity, and the decomposition of organic materials. To conclude, this microcosm project was designed with the goal of observing basic ecological processes in a controlled environment. Over the course of 8 weeks, I anticipated seeing how decomposing organic materials interact with the microorganisms in the system. These interactions are expected to result in gradual changes, such as increased biological activity and shifts in the water's clarity. This experiment serves as a simple yet effective model for mimicking natural cycles, allowing us to closely examine the processes that sustain ecosystems. By observing these processes on a smaller scale, we gain valuable insights into the dynamics of nutrient cycling, decomposition, and microbial activity that occur in larger ecosystems. Overall, this project highlights the intricate balance of life within even the smallest systems and provide a hands-on opportunity to explore the fundamentals of ecology. During week 1, I noticed that the water was muddy brown due to sediment and organic matter. The sediment settled down at the bottom, creating a gritty texture, all while the twigs floated near the surface. Algae or microbial activity was not yet visible. The microcosm's enclosed system allowed for nutrient cycling, setting the stage for future growth and decomposition. Light exposure of approximately 12 hours daily provided an ideal environment for autotrophs to begin photosynthesis. By week 2, I observed a notable shift in the clarity of water. As sediment settled further, the muddy appearance began to lighten, creating a clearer environment at the top. The decomposition of leaves started to release nutrients into the water, which are vital for supporting life within the microcosm. Early signs of algae growth were visible, indicating that autotrophic activity had begun. Additionally, microbial activity increased the bacteria and fungi began breaking down the organic material, jump-starting the nutrient cycle in this ecosystem. In week 3, sediment continued to compact further, stabilizing the bottom of the bottle. Leaves showed significant fragmentation as decomposition processes intensified, driven by the active presence of the bacteria and fungi. The water environment becomes increasingly nutrient-rich, supporting the thriving algae population. This period marked the peak of decomposition activity, highlighting the critical role of heterotrophs in breaking down organic matter and recycling nutrients back into the ecosystem. During week 4, I noticed that the leaves turned a deep brown color, signaling their advanced stage of decomposition. By this point, the leaves were breaking down almost completely, enriching the sediment with organic material. A thin layer of mold appeared on the water's surface, indicating increased fungal activity in the microcosm. Interestingly, I also observed water condensation forming on the interior walls of the bottle, which mimicked the natural water cycle. This demonstrated how even in a closed system, evaporation and condensation could occur, further simulating real-world ecosystem processes. By week 5, the water's clarity had noticeably improved near the surface, while the sediment at the bottom darkened due to accumulating organic matter. Small root-like structures began to emerge from the compact sediment, suggesting the potential for plant growth within the system. The development emphasized the microcosm's ability to support life in various forms. Meanwhile, mold and algae started competing for limited resources, showcasing the dynamic interactions between autotrophs, heterotrophs within the system. These observations underscored the balance between growth and decay and maintaining the system's nutrient cycle. In week 6, new developments emerged as black mold appeared within the sediment and began spreading alongside the walls of the bottle. This mold represented a robust decomposer species, demonstrating the continued role of fungi in the nutrient cycling process. Despite the mold's expansion, algae remained present, coexisting with its new competitor. Water condensation persisted on the walls, reinforcing the ongoing activity of the water cycle within this closed microcosm. These observations highlighted the resilience of autotrophs like algae and the adaptability of heterotrophs in dynamic environments. By week 7, the microcosm had evolved significantly. Stringy algae floated freely throughout the water, while mold fully covered the twigs within the ecosystem. These changes reflected the resilience of autotrophs such as algae, which adapted and thrived under the available light and nutrients. So, simultaneously, the mold illustrated the pivotal role of heterotrophs in decomposition, ensuring the nutrients continued to cycle within the system. These observations confirmed that the intricate balance between growth, decay, and nutrient cycling, which are fundamental processes in any ecosystem. The microcosm successfully simulated ecological processes such as decomposition, nutrient cycling, and water cycling within a controlled environment. My hypothesis was supported as algae growth and microbial activity became increasingly evident over the 7 weeks. Indirect sunlight facilitated photosynthesis, sustaining autotrophs, while decomposers like mold and fungi recycle nutrients back into the system. This project highlighted 3 core ecological concepts: nutrient cycling, trophic levels, and the water cycle. Nutrient cycling was evident in the decomposition of organic materials, which release nutrients to support algae and microbial growth. Trophic levels were represented by algae as primary producers and bacteria and fungi as decomposers. These interactions demonstrated the flow of energy and matter within the microcosm. The water cycle was simulated through condensation and evaporation within the sealed container, mimicking natural environmental processes. Microcosm study play a pivotal role in the field of ecology, offering a simplified yet insightful way to study complex natural systems. By creating controlled environments, microcosms allow us to observe fundamental ecological processes such as nutrient cycling, trophic interactions, and the water cycle in a manageable and measurable setting. These small-scale models are increasingly effective for isolating and analyzing specific variables, which help us gain a deeper understanding of the intricate dynamics that sustain ecosystems. One of the key benefits of microcosm studies is their ability to simulate essential processes like the flow of nutrients through different trophic levels, the decomposition of organic matter, and the activity of microorganisms. These observations shed light on how ecosystems function and how they respond to various stresses or changes. Microcosm experiments are especially relevant to addressing real-world ecological challenges. For example, by studying how microcosms adapt to variables such as temperature changes, light availability, or the introduction of pollutants, we can better predict how larger ecosystems might react to similar conditions. This is crucial for tackling issues like climate change, habitat destruction, and pollution, as it provides a foundation for developing solutions to maintain ecological balance and resilience in the face of these challenges. Now let's discuss some opportunities for further research. First, we can test hypotheses that explore how different conditions affect the microcosm. For instance, if the microcosm is exposed to varying light conditions such as partial sunlight, artificial light, or complete darkness, the rate of algae growth and microbial activity may differ. I hypothesized that higher light exposure would lead to increased autotrophic activity. Another hypothesis to explore involves the introduction of new variables, such as temperature changes or the addition of different organic materials, like food waste or alternative plant types. These changes could significantly alter the composition and behavior of the microcosm's ecosystem, providing deeper insights into how ecosystems adapt to environmental changes. For future projects, I would highly recommend incorporating enhanced documentation techniques. Using tools like time-lapse photography or weekly video recordings would allow for a more detailed visual representation of the dynamic changes within the microcosm. This approach would provide a more comprehensive understanding of how the ecosystem evolves over time and make the project even more engaging and informative. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge the resources and reference that guided and helped shape this project. Thank you for your attention.